Hi, I'm Josh from the UK OSINT community, and in this video, we'll be looking at the basics of Regex and the use cases it has in the OSINT world. These tutorial videos are new for us, so please leave us some feedback in the comments or in our communities on Discord and Slack. Let's jump straight in, and we'll start with regex101.com because this is a really good starting point to learn some of the more common elements that go into Regex queries, and this will help you to see how this actually works with test data. We can see in their quick reference guide that lots of the elements used are in square brackets. For example, A-Z creates a character range between those characters. So now we're searching for any one character which is within that range. You can do the same for different cases like lowercase or uppercase and numbers as well. And there's many different things you can put in between those square brackets to search for different patterns of characters. So let's start with a quick and basic example where we have some test email addresses. If we wanted to extract just the handles of these and leave out the domains, we can do that very easily with Regex. And let's imagine that this was a bigger dataset that maybe you couldn't give to AI to do it. We can start off with our square brackets and slowly start to enter different characters. And you'll notice that these all show as the matches down below. So now the A to Z is matching all of the lowercase characters. We can start to add in more, like the full stop and an underscore. And in a real data set, you want to include everything that could crop up there, like a hyphen as well. And in Regex, it's really important that you put the hyphen at the end within your group, because otherwise it can cause errors. For example, we can see that there's a hyphen here too, but this is working as the character range. So if you put your hyphen somewhere else, like in between the dot and the underscore, it's going to think that you're trying to create a range between these, which of course you can't do. So that can cause lots of errors. And even when I've used AI to give me certain queries, they have made this mistake and I run into lots of issues. So this is something really good to be aware of. Now, the next problem that we have here is that this query so far is selecting each individual letter or character. We want it to select the entire thing. So what we can do is simply add a plus at the end. So this tells it now to, instead of searching for just one of these characters, it can search for multiple at a time. So now we're selecting the full handles, but also the domains. To stop the domains from being matched, we can add an @ sign at the end so that now only the handles match the pattern because there isn't an @ sign at the end of the domains. So those no longer match. However, we now have the issue that our full match is also including the @ sign, which we don't want. So we can use a very useful feature in Regex, which is a capturing group. So we can now put regular brackets here around these matches. And now you can see in the green, this is only selecting the actual handle itself and missing out the @ because we've left the @ sign outside of our capturing group with the regular brackets. And now if you go into export and we can take out this, we can now see the full list of matches that we've got here. And if you do this in Python programming, it will be different in how you can access those values from the capturing groups. But here in Regex 101, it's just basic like that, and you can see the list simply here. Something I quickly wanted to cover before we move on to other examples is how you can use those capturing groups to modify data. This will be different between Python and other platforms, but here in Regex 101, you can use the substitution under the function, and we can do that here. So I've already gone and done a Regex query for these names where we have a surname, comma, first name. So you can see they're very basic queries, just looking for basic text and then the plus sign to match multiple characters. And you can see that we have the brackets as a first capturing group here around the surname, and then a second capturing group which goes around the first name. And we can access those values using $ and then a number. So this first capturing group, which covers our surnames, will be accessed using $1. And the first names, which are inside of our second capturing group, will be accessed via $2. So down here under the substitution, we can just enter $2, and then $1. And that now gives us John Doe, Bill Smith, and Alice Jones in that order. So that is a really quick and easy way to modify your data if it's not in a format that you want. You could do the same thing with phone numbers, names, and anything else. Now let's look at a slightly more practical example. Let's imagine we have this partial email address. We need to identify what email provider it is. So the first step might be to come to a resource like this, free email provider domains list. And there are thousands in this list, so it's quite a difficult thing to do manually. But if we take this list and put it into our Regex 101, we can now run Regex queries on it. There's lots of domains here which no longer exist. You could narrow it down maybe, but it's a really good historic look through them and also still includes all of the main domains today. So we know that our domain ends in t.com and begins with b and has 8 unknown characters in between. So we can really easily search for that with our regex, because otherwise it's going to take a long time to look through every domain that ends with t.com or has a b in it somewhere. So let's start with our b character and then our square brackets with a to z. We could search for a dot in case there's any subdomains in here, and our hyphen, making sure that the hyphen is at the end so that it doesn't cause any issues. And then we know that there's 8 unknown characters, so we can use our curly brackets with the number 8. So this is specifying that there has to be 8 characters which match these characters in the square brackets. And now we can finish it off with our t.com, and you can see that there is one single match out of these thousands of domains. So again, we can click the export and go to plain text and see our one single result. So you could now investigate this further, see if that does seem to be an accurate result or if you need to search further. Moving on from Regex 101, the Chrome Web Store has lots of great extensions that allow us to run regex queries through any of the pages we visit. And this is really useful. So if you do add this to your Chrome, just make sure that you come up to the puzzle piece and pin the extension, because otherwise you won't see it at the top. Now we can go to any page, but this is just a very basic example, because this page here does contain a phone number. So what we're going to do is just do a very basic, probably bad regex query just to find that phone number. So what we'll do is click on the extension, and you can see that it looks quite similar to the regular search. You can type any query you want in here, but this one includes the functionality to search regex. So what I'm going to do is enter this query, which just looks for the number range 0 to 9, and it also includes a space so that we can search spaces, and it searches specifically for 13 characters. In this case, 13 numbers and spaces. So we can now see that the phone number here appears in green because this is listed as a match. If there were more than one, they would all pop up in yellow, and you can go through the results and the selected result you're on shows up in green. But of course, you can use this for anything like searching for emails on a page and anything else that you can create a query for that has a common pattern. So this makes it really useful for OSINT. The final thing we're going to look at in this video is bookmarklets. You might be familiar with this page where usually we bookmark web pages, but what you see here is actually bookmarks for JavaScript code. You can see as I hover over them that they have these JavaScript and then all of the code. And what happens here is that when you click on one of these bookmarklets, it will execute on whatever page you're on at the time. You might have seen some of the popular OSINT bookmarklets that Micah Hoffman has released. They allow you to do really cool functionality like finding user IDs on various platforms and many other things. So there's lots of creativity that can go into new bookmarklets that you should definitely think about. But these ones that I have here, I made using AI, and they're more for bug bounties. That's another thing you can look into if you wish. But what they do is simply search for other information on the web pages, like any other endpoints for the website, or hidden forms that you might be able to input data into, or searching for base64 strings automatically. So I'm going to show you just a very quick basic example here of what this full code looks like, but don't worry about understanding this. like I said, I actually used AI to create these. So you can see that when it's written out in a more beautified way, we can see that it has base 64 regex, and this is the regex that is being used to search for base 64 code patterns. And that allows me to find them all automatically without me manually having to search for them. Now, if I go back to this page, which is the free email provider domains list, I can click on bug bounty bookmarks and go to my base 64 strings. And what this does is open up this nice little pop-up and shows me all of the base 64 strings from within the source code and anywhere else within this page. And you can see it's not just showing me the base 64 string, it's even gone that extra step and decoded the base 64 for me. This was actually a way that I used to get rid of all the false positives, because the regex alone does show some false positives. But when I took that extra step to try and decode all of the results, any errors I got were clearly the false positives. All the ones which didn't show an error were the ones which could successfully be decoded from base 64 and are the results I want to see. So again, these are all things that are in the source code that usually we might skip over, but actually can be decoded into really valuable data sometimes. So things like this, very, very useful for OSINT. And of course, like I said, there's lots of other ones here, like endpoints. So now for searching websites, you could search the different endpoints and see if any other data is available to you, and so on. So I definitely recommend having a think what OSINT bookmarklets you could make yourself for the different various websites you use. Sometimes you can use them for enlarging photos, finding hidden data in pages, and so many other things. Like I said, there's lots of room for creativity here and making some really cool stuff that hasn't already been thought of by the OSINT community. And that takes us to the end of the video. Hopefully this has given you a better general understanding of regex, or at least has given you some new ideas on the ways that you can use it. If you want videos going deeper into regex, or other elements of this video like bookmarklets, please let us know in the comments, or you can join our communities on Discord and Slack. You can get more information on that at osint.uk. If you did find the video useful, please like and subscribe to the channel so that you are aware of when we post new videos in the future. And apart from that, see you in the next video.